FoodSEqual is a UKRI-funded 5-year project that aims to transform the UK food system in more sustainable and healthy directions for all. We argue that co-producing policies for and with communities experiencing food inequalities is key for transforming the food system. Policies, most of the times, is developed in silos without really engaging with communities or directly speaking to community needs. At FoodSEqual, we work closely with our community partners and their community researchers in order to bring communities at the heart of the conversations.
Brighton itself is a city of inequality. If you walk into Brighton, you see lovely shops, lovely delis, lots of people having a lovely time, but it's quite different what's available just a mile up the road onto the outskirts. The food environment there is very different. And doing this food policy research with the community gave an amazing example about how important it is to consult people, how people that these decisions affect are most likely to have the answers that are going to work and create impact. You know, it affects our health, our economy, our well-being, the environment, and people really are conscious of that and really trying to do the best that they can.
Essentially what they said is that they wanted to have better access to food that was healthy. For example, they wanted to eat more fresh vegetables, ideally organic or that hadn't got chemicals on them. They wanted to eat more fish. They felt very strongly about giving farmers and food producers a fair price for what they do. They realised the influence of the supermarkets in pushing those prices down and squeezing the margins for the farmers. They thought that was wrong. They wanted better food education in schools, and also the community wanted to come together to eat, to share food, to learn cooking skills together. You know, they realised it's not just about eating good food, it's about connection, it's about reducing isolation and kind of strengthening communities. So I lead on the city's food strategy, and I took some of the research from the FoodSEqual policy, like what people wanted to change, and I put that into our food strategy document.
We had learnt through the community researchers' work and the policy briefs that really there was a desire to have less junk food advertising, and also on the positive side trying to have more healthy, sustainable food advertising. And our colleagues in transport offered a space on the digital adverts in the city bus stops, which was incredible. The space was worth tens of thousands of pounds. In fact, we felt incredibly lucky to use that, and my colleague in public health contacted a Healthy Start scheme, and they actually made a bus stop advert ready for us, so we were ready to go. Really, it was the support and the confidence through the FoodSEqual programme and knowing that they were up for evaluating this properly that we could all move forward together.
The survey finds that the people is tired of junk food adverts, you know, the people is aware as well of how much noise there is in the city. They talk about how the space could be used for something of public good. If you're talking about food, why don't you give me like food recipes instead? Why don't you get involved with, with the needs of the community instead of, just bringing noise into the sort of environment?
So in FoodSEqual, we have worked very closely with the Brighton and Hove Food Partnership and the Brighton and Hove City Council, but also with organisations in Reading like Whitley Community Development Association and the Reading Borough Council.
Reading Borough Council doesn't currently have a specific food coordinator as Brighton has. We've taken information and ideas from the local community within Whitley in Reading and informed the council of saying, actually, this is what is strong in their minds and on their agendas, and then work with the council to actually make that happen and bring about some change.
I'm hopeful that some of the conversations about the policy work that we did, that importance of keeping their community centres kind of vibrant and a place where people feel safe and want to go to. So I think we've got the evidence to prove that actually if you invest in these spaces then you'll get the best out of your communities.
So we start with a community cafe, and that's a really good way to engage people. But for me, none of it's in isolation, like policy's not in isolation. policy is about neighbourhoods, it's about connectedness, it's about licensing laws, it's about health, it's about housing, transport, everything.
We know that policy conversations can be very daunting. So developing a policy video game sounded like a great idea. It's something that can engage communities in conversations about food in more creative and playful ways. What is really unique about the game and very interesting is that all the different policy options and challenges that the player is introduced through this game are things that people have been telling us about food and the types of changes they want to see in their own places, in different UK cities.
By sharing the game in this way and opening the research up to audiences that wouldn't normally be able to access it or wouldn't have the patience or the skills to read these documents, it may make people more activist or become more aware that these kind of conversations are going on.
What I really think it does to all players is reinforce the intricacies and the relationships between these policy decisions at very grassroots level all the way through to central government. So one of my real takeaways from this project has been, do we speak to the consumer and the community side of things enough? So certainly we would spend a lot of time maybe talking to farmers and retailers and processors and assuming we know what consumers want based on their purchasing decisions. But what this project has told me, that those purchasing decisions are impacted by an awful lot of things that don't necessarily reflect their visions and their values. And so unless we're talking to them and then linking up what we're doing on this side of things with retailers, with government policy, with producers, then we're not going to bring those two things together.
If you give people the means, the motivation, the capability, and some of that is finance, some of it is time, availability, access, all these things. Actually, there's a huge number of people that will make the changes that actually the policymakers would really like to see. But you need to listen to people and you need to not prejudge. And you actually find that in most cases, the solution is there.